Forget everything you thought you knew about the NFL draft. Because what happened to Shedeur Sanders in April 2025 wasn't just a draft day disappointment. It was what some are now calling a $50 million takedown. A quarterback who led the NCAA in completion percentage, broke school records, carried one of the most watched college football programs in years, and yet he dropped all the way to the 5th round. Pick 144 by a team that didn't even plan on drafting a quarterback. And now, the whispers have turned into lawsuits. The NFL may be facing one of the boldest legal threats in its history, as the Sanders family prepares to take action against the league itself, alleging collusion, defamation, and long-term financial sabotage. And the more you look into it, the stranger it gets. Reports of shady backdoor calls between team owners. Secret do-not-draft pacts fueled by branding fears linked to Deion. Combined interviews designed to fail. Entire organizations passing on the most talked-about QB in college football for no clear reason. And then there's the biggest twist of all. Someone leaked footage. Giants insiders released a cryptic, clipped tape of Shedeur's interview, fueling a media firestorm and leading fans to ask the real question. Was this ever about talent? Or was it a coordinated hit job? Because when you've got the stats, the pedigree, the performance, and you still fall 130 picks, something doesn't add up. And if this lawsuit continues gaining traction, the fallout may not just change one career. It might expose everything the league tried to keep behind closed doors. Let's break down exactly how it all went down, because this story is just getting started. The NFL Draft is supposed to be a celebration, a once-in-a-lifetime moment when years of hard work finally pay off. For Shedeur Sanders, it started that way. Cameras were rolling, guests gathered, the energy in the room buzzed with confidence, champagne on ice, family standing by. And then, nothing. Thursday passed, Friday passed, Saturday dragged. No phone call, no pick, no explanation. Then came pick number 144 in the 5th round, nearly 130 spots lower than where experts had projected just weeks before. Cleveland Browns, a team not expected to draft him. No interviews aired. The highlight package cut short. The room, silent. The moment went viral for all the wrong reasons. According to sources close to the Sanders family, not even Deion saw this coming. And when he realized what had happened, his reaction reportedly turned from disbelief to pure fury. He allegedly said, "This league just blackballed my son." At first, people brushed it off as a heartbroken father lashing out. But quietly, something started to shift. Former players tweeted support. Analysts began questioning the logic. Fans wanted answers. Why did a quarterback with top-tier numbers, pro tools, and massive marketability slide this far, with no injury, no scandal, no red flags? And why was every camera in place to capture Cleveland's pick before it even happened? Even Deion seemed suspicious. Some believe Cleveland was tipped off, told that Shedeur would fall all the way to round 5. A few insiders even suggest the NFL wanted someone to make the pick, just not too early. Just enough to save face. But to the Sanders camp, it felt like a robbery. One that stripped millions off Shedeur's rookie deal. One that blurred the line between scouting and sabotage. And this was only the beginning. On paper, Shedeur Sanders should have been off the board by pick 50, maybe even earlier. He finished his college career with a staggering 74.1% completion rate, led the nation in several advanced passing metrics, and broke multiple program records in one of the most talked-about seasons in NCAA history. His draft profile? Clean. His game tape? Solid. His leadership? Widely respected. And yet 32 NFL teams passed on him. Not once, but 4 times. This wasn't a kid with off-field red flags. There were no injuries to explain the drop. He didn't bomb postseason workouts. He didn't have character issues. Most draft analysts had him in the late first to early second round range. So how does a quarterback like that end up slipping to the fifth? Simple. He wasn't passed over because of performance. He was passed over because of perception. At the Combine, some teams reportedly ran trap installs, film cut with intentional mistakes to test memory. It's said that Shedeur didn't catch one, and when he was challenged, he didn't take it well. During interviews, he'd reportedly push back when grilled, even questioning teams back. Old, confident, but in the eyes of some GMs, too confident. Then there was the brand factor. He's Deion's son. He has his own merch line. He's already a face of several brands. Word behind the scenes is that some teams didn't want a celebrity backup. They didn't want a strong voice in a role designed for silence. But here's the contradiction. Isn't that exactly what you want in a QB1? Poise, control, swagger. None of it should have been a problem, unless teams had already made up their minds. And internally, that's exactly what Shedeur's camp believes. Because when everything lines up and you still fall, NFL interviews aren't just about personality. They're designed to test poise, intellect, and coachability under pressure. But according to multiple sources, Shedeur Sanders walked into meetings that felt like setups. At the Combine, teams reportedly planted intentional errors in their playbook installs to see if players would catch them. That's standard. But what wasn't standard, insiders say, was how coaches zeroed in on Shedeur when he didn't. In one interview, after being asked about a bad throw pulled from early film, Shedeur responded bluntly, "Maybe I'm not the guy for you." To some scouts, that's a red flag. To others, it's honesty. But within front offices, that moment apparently traveled, and not in his favor. It didn't stop there. Giants officials reportedly recorded an interview with Shedeur and then leaked an edited clip, one that conveniently left out context but made him appear dismissive. The full session was never released, a move fans called a smear job the moment it hit the internet. The PR logic? Probably aimed at justifying the draft slide after the fact. The impact? It backfired. Fans flooded social media with demands to drop the tape. NFL insiders questioned why only his interview footage was selectively leaked. If it was really so bad, they asked, why not show all of it? Transparency shouldn't be trimmed. To Shedeur's camp, this wasn't just personality testing, it was calculated image control. Make him look difficult, push him down the board, claim it wasn't about talent. It's a blueprint we've seen before, with players labeled as problematic for not backing down. Only this time, the mistakes weren't his. They were planted, and the reaction was the real test. What the teams didn't expect? Shedeur's silence becoming his loudest move yet. By Sunday evening, the whispers had turned into full-blown speculation. And now, it's official. Legal action is coming. Sources close to the Sanders family have confirmed. Their legal team is preparing a case that names the NFL, several team executives, and possibly even specific owners in what could become one of the largest lawsuits the league has ever faced. The accusations? Collusion, defamation, and long-term financial sabotage. Privately obtained messages, reportedly uncovered by a private investigator hired by Shedeur's team, suggest NFL ownership groups may have quietly coordinated to tank his draft stock. Why? Not his play, his presence. Internal chatter allegedly labeled Shedeur as media baggage, not because of behavior, but because of his visibility, his branding deals, his relationship with Coach Prime, his refusal to play silent backup. He wasn't plug and play. He was loud, marketable, confident, and that scared them. Even worse, some of those messages reportedly tied back to Super Bowl week, where Deion Sanders made headlines by saying they wouldn't go to just any team. To some front offices, that came off as entitled. To others, threatening. And the response? A wall of silence, backdoor calls, secret draft dodges, teams passing without even bringing him in for meetings. According to the legal team, this wasn't scouting, it was strategy, and they believe the NFL will struggle to prove otherwise. Meanwhile, public perception is shifting fast. Fans are demanding transparency. Drop the tapes. Where's the full interview? Why did no one speak up? Because if you're reading between the lines, it's not hard to see what's happening. One of the most scrutinized players in the draft was stripped of opportunity, not because he couldn't play, but because he refused to play along. The plan, if there ever was one, backfired. The interviews were clipped, the narratives were planted, the whispers turned into headlines. But instead of burying Shedeur Sanders' reputation, the league and its critics accidentally created a star. The viral celebrity backup quarterback quote? It's now printed on hoodies, turned into TikTok soundbites, and reposted by Shedeur's fans across every platform. Instead of damaging his image, it made him relatable. It gave him the one thing you can't manufacture in the NFL, a compelling underdog narrative. And the fans bought in. They saw the uneven playing field. They watched the clip from his private draft party go silent. They watched the leaked interview drop without context. And they responded the only way they know how in 2025, with full-blown viral retaliation. Free Shedeur started trending. Giants fans turned on their own team. Even neutrals wanted receipts. Suddenly, Shedeur wasn't just a quarterback anymore. He became a symbol, a player branded unfairly, a son fighting for respect, a rookie who wouldn't play the game by someone else's rules. And now, every press conference he's in, every throw he makes in OTAs, every sideline clip, it's all watched, clipped, reposted, and analyzed. He's become the conversation, whether the NFL likes it or not. He could have pushed back in anger. He didn't. He could have spoken to the press. He stayed silent. And instead of defending himself, he let other people do that for him. The result? A fifth-round pick now has more cultural pull than half the league's starters. And what began as a whisper campaign has become the most talked-about storyline of the offseason. While the Giants tried to quietly distance themselves from the drama they helped ignite, Cleveland leaned into it hard. According to reports from Colin Cowherd and multiple NFL insiders, Browns owner Jimmy Haslam had seen enough. He stepped in personally and made it crystal clear. Shedeur Sanders is going to be our guy. Not next year, not maybe later, now. Sources say Haslam not only pressured team leadership to draft Shedeur, but also bypassed head coach Kevin Stefanski's preferences in the process. Stefanski reportedly favored Dillon Gabriel, even drafting him 2 rounds earlier, specifically to avoid Sanders falling into their hands. But when Shedeur was still available in the 5th round, Haslam acted fast. He overruled the draft board, and according to insiders, has now instructed staff to prepare Sanders as the starter for Week 1. And the irony? The Giants, who were rumored to be avoiding him during the draft, suddenly look like they fumbled their biggest PR opportunity. While Cleveland, dragged into this controversy late, is now sitting on a marketing goldmine. Training camp tickets are selling faster than ever. Social media engagement has exploded, and fans, many of whom were already on edge about Stefanski's handling of quarterbacks, are already chanting one name, Shedeur. Inside the building, the pressure is mounting. Cleveland's execs didn't plan to draft 2 quarterbacks, but now they're navigating an obvious ownership-coaching divide. And the Giants, they've gone silent. No apology, no clarification, no release of the full interview that sparked the mess. Because now, every move strengthens the only narrative they tried to stop. That Shedeur Sanders wasn't the problem, he was the threat. And Cleveland's ownership just bet their entire future on him. For most 5th-round picks, the path is simple. Hold a clipboard, learn quietly, and hope for a chance 2 or 3 years down the line. But Shedeur Sanders? He's rewriting that playbook in real time. From his very first OTA session, reports say Sanders walked into the huddle like it already belonged to him. Calm cadence, commanding presence. And then, of course, the accuracy. The same 74% completion rate from college, now flashing against pro-level defenses. Coaches tried easing him in with scout teamwork, but the problem is he kept winning. 7 straight red zone touchdowns against Cleveland's starting defense. 2-minute drills where he looked more composed than veterans. Linemen quietly admitted they preferred blocking for him. Wideouts said the timing just felt different. It slowly became impossible to hide. Front office executives, who originally saw him as a developmental flyer, now describe him as a serious contender for QB1. And ownership? They're already treating him like the face of the franchise. Season ticket campaigns are featuring Shedeur's number. Merchandise is selling faster than any rookies in recent memory. Most rookie quarterbacks fade into anonymity their first year. Sanders has become the most watched storyline in Cleveland since LeBron James first took the court down the street. Every practice clip fuels discussion. Each highlight turns into breaking news. And somehow, the controversy that should have crushed him has instead turned him into one of the most marketable, intriguing rookies in the NFL. Critics call him overhyped. Fans call him the future. Either way, everybody is watching. And now as camp ramps up, one question overshadows everything in Cleveland. How long can they keep him off the field? So here we are. What started as a shocking draft day slide has exploded into one of the biggest storylines in professional football. Was it collusion? Was it sabotage? Or was it simply a league unwilling to hand control to a confident young quarterback who refused to play the role they wanted? Whatever the answer, one thing is clear. The NFL didn't silence Shedeur Sanders. They made him louder. Instead of crushing his momentum, the draft day fall and leaked interviews turned Shedeur into a headline. Instead of fading as another mid-round pick, he's become the centerpiece of Cleveland's offseason and maybe the franchise. Inside the Browns building, pressure is boiling. Ownership wants him as QB1. The coaching staff is dragging its feet. But fans, they've already chosen. They're ready to crown Shedeur. And if preseason play matches the practice hype, it won't be a debate anymore. It'll be a demand. For Cleveland, this is the edge of a knife. Handle it right, and Sanders could finally end their decades-long quarterback curse. Handle it wrong, and it becomes another colossal black mark in a franchise history already littered with what-ifs. But for Shedeur, for Deion's son, for the kid they tried to humble, this is the start of something far bigger than one position battle. Every throw, every headline, every chant from Cleveland's fan base is proof. The system couldn't bury him. It just added fuel to the fire. Now there are only 2 possible endings to this saga. Either Cleveland implodes again, or the Shedeur Sanders era begins and transforms chaos into the beginning of a legacy. And one way or another, the NFL will never be able to say they weren't warned.